It's the opening night and they're lighting the lights. The orchestra is tuning to make sure they sound right. It's time to start our show tonight.
Do you think they're ready for it?
No, but they're gonna get it.
Well, it's four blokes in dinner jackets in the 1980s outside a nightclub, the Bouncers, and they play all the parts. It's like the story of a night in their lives, if you like, and they play all the other parts. They never change costumes, but they change into women, they change into young lads, they change into all sorts, and it's very. It's a very kind of open stage kind of. It was quite it's quite revolutionary. It was first done in the 80s, but it's good fun.
Yeah! Wow! Things are really happening down here tonight. Have some fun. Yeah, come on, have some fun.
We did a production. What was it? 2 years ago. And this is a sort of remount of that. We did it again last year, I think it was. I lose track. But this is the first time this production, which we are now remounting, is the first time I've actually directed Bouncers. Yeah.
And what attracted you to do it?
Money. No, it is something I've always sort of thought about. I've known the play for a long time, and I've always rather admired that kind of style and such, and I thought it'd be a nice chance to, because the play has been around since the 80s, and over the years various people have tried to kind of update it, which has been fine up to a certain point, but now what we thought we'd do is take it right back and set it back in the 80s, so all the cultural references make sense, because Bouncers are somewhat different now from what they were in the 80s, and that's always fun when you do that. And we've also set it very Liverpool. We've made it very Liverpool.
Because when we originally said we'd do this, I said, well, I'm too old to play a bouncer. I'm not physically in shape. But in the 80s, of course, bouncers in Liverpool, a lot of them were families, and they didn't need so much the physicality. They just needed the reputation. And there were older guys on the door, so we've kind of done that with it. John Godber, who wrote it, has been great with us. He's just said, look, go with it, and then we'll have a look at it and bring it. He'll see it anyway. If he likes it, he can put it in the script. But he's been great with us. He's given us so much latitude, and so we don't feel encumbered by it. We can add our own thing, because we scousise the whole show anyway, and we've gone back to the mid-80s, because this show has evolved so much over the years, and it's an amazing show. But we went right back to the original early day script, and then changed it from it being a little club in Yorkshire to being the Continental and the Grafton in Liverpool. So we split it up as well.
That's cool. You make changes to the script yourself.
Yeah, as long as it's still there and the spirit of the thing's still there. Even the dialogue. As long as what we turn into scouse and we scousise it does have the same meaning as what, it's got to have that, of course, and it's all done within the same spirit. And he came and saw it and loved it, and his dad was a huge fan of it, so he's been very generous about it. So it's nice knowing that you can do that without having to worry too much. Obviously, you don't want to take too many liberties, because it's a great piece of work anyway. But we just sort of bent it to our will, really.
We've done quite a lot of work on it, yeah, which John Godber is quite happy about. He came to see it, and last time we did it, and first time we did it, and he really liked it. He's very happy for you to make it your own. It's not precious. It's been done in lots of different versions. And so, yeah, and with the sort of actors that I'm working with here, they're great at coming up with ideas and knocking lines around, especially making it making it more Scouse. Because they're all Scousers, of course, and so it's second nature to them, really.
I tell you what, girls. I tell you what we'll do. Now, the first girl who brings me a matching pair of bra and knickers, yes, that's it. A pair of knickers and a bra. There'll be a bottle of Asti Spumante and a fortnight's free entry. Get it?
We changed it to the Grafton, and then just localised it a little bit.
put in names what we call people instead, because it was heavy Yorkshire when we first read it, where it was set. So we just had to change some of that just for Scousisms, you know what I mean? Yeah.
But it's so all the references, all the references are ones that you would know from Liverpool from the 80s, like the Continental Club and all that sort of thing, yeah.
Well, everybody's getting off on it, man. I mean, what are you saying? Well, that might be your opinion, but everybody seems to be enjoying it.
Hey, man, have you got any Deep Purple?
Bounces to DJ, bounces to DJ, bounces to DJ.
Hey, man, have you got any yes?
No.
What about the dead?
Who?
Dead who? Yes. Saw they're in Nebworth. You've got a better stack in this tinny. How many watts have you got, man?
What?
Watts!
What?
The watts!
What?
Watts!
That's what I'm saying.
Watts! What?
Never mind, what?
For an actor, it's a really good piece to do, you know what I mean? Because you can show what you can do, you can show your range, because you have to play so many characters, and it's all done in the tux. There's no costume change. You're just stuck in the same tuxedo the whole way through. So you'd have to create these characters that are a bit larger than life, and you'd have to change your body language and everything, so that because in the transitions you just change from one character right into another. So you just have to change your entire body language, your accent, you know what I mean, and just create a real character. So for an actor, it's a buzz. It really is. This will be my third trip. Yeah.
So do you remember the first time you done it?
No, I can't. We're struggling now. I mean, I'm getting a little bit too old. I think it's getting harder to remember. But no, once we're up and running, it starts to come back. And we got Drew in, so he's shone a new light on it all. So it's given us a fresh impetus. So it's flying back. We'll be all right for the opening night, hopefully. Yeah. Well, every time one cast member's changed, so it's a bit bittersweet because Mark was great and Lewis was great. But it adds a new freshness to it, you know what I mean? And Drew's just brought loads to it. Drew's brought a lot to his characters, you know what I mean? Which has changed it and it's freshened it up, because I'm not a big fan of going back to stuff I've done. I mean, you pretty much nailed it, you know what I mean? Because we had a great show last year, but then to try and recreate that and capture that again, but having someone in fresh, it just gives it new legs, you know what I mean? Which is great. You can change the whole dynamic of it. So yeah, it's great.
It gets better every time.
Yeah, it really does, because it changes, it really does. So it's great. It is a laugh, it's a pleasure. I think it's just, well, you get a new person and they bring whatever they bring to the table, so they adapt and they have a different approach, so it changes your performance slightly, and that's just great fun. We're having such a great time in rehearsals, and we're all great pals, which is a bonus. It's just great fun to work with all your mates, and very, very lucky to be doing so.
No. Yes. No.
Well, it's just such a great show, and it's very successful. It goes down so well at the Royal Court, and as I say, we've got Drew Schofield doing it this year, and originally we had Mark Womack, and then we had Lewis Emmerich last year, and now we've got Drew. So it gives it a fresh bite every time, and there's a different eye on it, So it's great fun. It's always different. It's great. You just have a laugh. I mean, we're doing the work, but you're just laughing your head off. I mean, we're working with Mickey, Drew, and Bunge, and Paul Broughton. Do you know what I mean? So you just end up laughing your head off anyway. It's funnier when it goes wrong. How people get out of it that way, then, you know what I mean? It's brilliant. It's a laugh. It's always great fun to watch. I mean, I'd certainly love to see it from out front, and it's a terrific show. It really is a terrific show.
Walking place, someone decent.
Come on, take it easy, lads.
Hey, man. Do I say it's small?
No, we'll wait for Penny Cole. Get out.
Runs from the 4th of September to the 3rd of October.
Each week we bring you all of the latest film news.
From interviews with filmmakers and actors, to local events, to the new cinema releases.
Join us every Tuesday evening on Bay TV Liverpool.
Well, the play's called Narvik, and it's set between present day and World War II, and it's about a man called Jim. So in the play he's 90 and he's also in his 20s. So I don't think it gives too much away to say that at the very start of the play he falls in his basement, and we then enter into his memories of World War II. His memories come back to haunt him, and we therefore go into this war story really, and this love story about him meeting a Norwegian woman and how the war then transformed that relationship, and about a really intense friendship he had during the war when he was on the ships. And we did an awful lot of research, me and Hannah the director. We read lots of stories from real Navy veterans, and I also talked a lot to my granddad who was in the Arctic and in Norway in the Second World War on the ships. And there's so many fascinating stories, and it's a version of World War II that doesn't get talked about very often. That's what really excited us. Actually, the locations aren't necessarily the places you think of when you think of World War II. That there were all these lads out there in the kind of frozen wastes, you know, actually sitting around for long periods of time with nothing happening, but then having incredibly dramatic, sometimes quite horrific things happen to them very suddenly. You know, German U-boats circling them. There was a tremendous amount of danger, and we're really interested in the tension of life on those ships and the pressure that was on all those young men. So hopefully we've brought that into the drama of the play.
Lizzie and I had done a project in the Playhouse actually called Picture a City, where we'd got people to send in photos of Liverpool, and then we'd got 5 playwrights to write a play inspired by one of those photos, and the playwrights performed their own play down in the gallery bar. And Lizzie was doing an album launch at the Scandinavian Church the night after one of the performances, so we went down, and not only is she a great playwright, but she's an amazing singer-songwriter, and for quite a long time I'd been really keen to work on a play where music was as important as the text and the story, and Lizzie seemed the perfect person to collaborate with to do that. So we had a chat about that, and actually it was something that she'd been keen to do, and she had an idea of a story that she'd like to use to combine the text and music. So the rest is history, I guess.
I've written the play and the songs in the play, and then it's really exciting that I'm going to be performing in the show as well. It's the first time that that's happened with one of the plays that I've written. The director, Hannah, had the idea maybe 4 years ago now. She started talking to me about the possibility of me writing a play that I could also perform in as a singer, because I'm a folk singer, and Vidar Norheim, who's also in the production with me, we're a folk duo together, and we go around folk clubs and festivals and venues. And we'd performed at a night that Hannah was organising, a hair company, Box of Tricks, was organising, and she got quite excited about the idea of me bringing together the two things that I do, the script writing and then the music. And it took a long time to come up with an idea that worked really, and I was a little bit nervous about it. It took quite a bit of persuading, but eventually I got on board with it. And actually it's really exciting to be able to, you know, be part of a scene that I've created. And we've spent quite a lot of time as a company exploring how the music interacts with the drama. And hopefully we've come up with a really exciting mix. It's not a musical, so even though the characters sing, they don't turn to the audience and burst into song. They kind of sing in naturalistic contexts, but then as a band on stage, me and Vidar and Martin Heslop, who's the third musician, we can then take those songs out of that naturalistic context and do really interesting things with them and make them really big or really strange, and hopefully it adds a lot of atmosphere and tension, and yeah, adds a different kind of colour to the play.
When I read the play, I was like, I really want to be in this. And the company is great, the actors, everyone is really nice. And I'm starting to settle in now. It feels like it's going to be a good couple of weeks ahead of me.
There's quite a lot to think about, just in terms of the age gaps, and the character kind of bleeds in and out of that age, from an old man into a young man, and out of the real world into his kind of subconscious. So there's lots of play within that needs thinking about, not just from my point of view, but as the ensemble, the rest of the cast and the musicians are all kind of informed on what that world is. So this week, hopefully we're exploring that quite a bit and setting the rules and finding what that is. And then the other sort of challenges with the characters also, because it's stylised, the piece, there's lots of sort of physical theatre elements that need to be ironed out and almost choreographed at certain points to make them seem abstract but engageable from the audience and recognisable, so they understand, you know, what is going on there, so it's not alienating.
Else Dahl is her name, and she's a Norwegian history teacher. Quite a free spirit. She likes to dream. She's got really high and big ambitions, and she meets Jim, which is quite exciting because he's in the Navy, and she asks him, "Oh, you can take me on your ship and take me to America and different countries." And so I think it's the excitement that kind of drags her towards him. Yeah, but then later on in the play, there's a massive change because of the war, and it's a different Elsa we see in the end of the play, unfortunately. Yeah, but I'm not gonna spoil anything.
We're only on day 3 of rehearsals, and I always consider the first week of rehearsals a time when the script can still change, and you know, lines are still up for grabs, really, because you never quite know how it's going to work until you've got actors walking and talking and doing it, and things that you were a bit worried about on the page suddenly come to life and they're brilliant, and things that you thought were really good on the page actually sound a bit rubbish. So it's not, I think the central idea and the central character of Jim, the old man whose story we're exploring, he hasn't really changed from the start. He's become more complex and more detailed, but actually he's always been the man that we thought he was from the start. The characters around him, so Elsa, his lover that he's kind of searching for, and Kenny, his friend during war, they've changed quite a bit, particularly Kenny actually. He's become more important and more complex than we realised. And so I'd almost like to do a play for each of them now, where they can each have their story and tell it. So yeah, it's changing in a really nice way. It's kind of developing and fleshing out, I guess, which is great. And the collaboration will continue, because Lizzie's going to be in the rehearsal room way more than a writer would normally be, because she's performing on stage. So that's an odd thing for both her and me, actually. She will never get to watch her play, because she's going to be in it. And I'll never get rid of her. She'll always be there, which is really nice. She's a lovely presence in the room. So actually it's nice to have her there so much, because normally this would probably be the last day that a writer would be in. For about a week or so, they'd disappear and go home and sit in front of their laptop and then not come in for a bit. So it's nice to have the continuity of her in there.
I got shown my dressing room yesterday, and it all got very real that I'm going to be a performer in this. It's not hypothetical anymore. It's really happening, and yeah, I'm really thrilled. It's quite a strange thing actually as a writer, that you pour your heart into the script and then you're there all through the rehearsal process quite often. But once the play's actually on the stage, you have to kind of, you know, release release it, give up control, which can be quite difficult, and you sit in the audience and kind of fret because there's nothing you can do. So I think there's going to be something really lovely about being part of that cast and going on stage with them every night, and yeah, being able to be part of the experience of realising it for an audience every night. Yeah, I can't wait.
It's an amazing theatre. I haven't seen anything here because I haven't been here, but I'm definitely gonna, like in the weekends, gonna have a look, see a few plays. But yeah, it's a really good theatre, so I'm really privileged to be able to perform here.
The studio is fantastic in terms of a space that's really adaptable. So every time I've come to see a show here or performed in a show here, it's just been a completely different layout. And again, the layout that we're using is one that I haven't seen before. So it's a lovely space in terms of just being completely adaptable. So for an audience member coming through, I suppose it's nice to kind of see what the surprise will be this time. And obviously once we get the setting and props and things like that and dress it all up, it should look completely different than it's looked before.
Yes, so we open on the 8th of September and we're running until the 19th, so just under 2 weeks.
And there's a matinee on that last Saturday.
Should we great? So book your tickets, they're on sale.